A lot of people don't know this, but there's a lot of different hooks within one video. The hook is the most important part of a video because it grabs the viewer's attention immediately. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I edit different hooks for the same exact video. All right, let's take a look. So I have my Premiere Pro project right here. It's a conversation with me and another entrepreneur. So I was already kind of working on this project, but and labeling footage. Went ahead and just, if you saw my previous video on timestamping, that's exactly what I did here. I was just timestamping and marking exactly what could be made into a reel. So let's go to one of those timestamps. Let's go to this one right here. Let's see how I start the video off.
And again, I'm going back to what I said at the beginning. You gotta revisit your core values. What means more to you, bro? Because for me, I thought it was like financially, like, oh shit, like I had.
Nah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I know I could.
It's not spicy enough for me.
As long as I have a community going with me throughout like my journey in life and everything, dog. Like, you know.
I'm just yapping.
Really.
Let's go on, let's move to what he says.
Like, yeah, man, it's a definite real thing. Like those experiences are what make the human experience a human experience. Yeah. And I think to your point, it's interesting sometimes how like your business can set up one thing really, really well, but can fuck you over in so many of it.
Boom, I like that. So he says,
like those experiences are what make the human experience.
So I was talking about how I got sick and hustling hard and in business, and then he went to go elaborate on that point. But instead of me starting the video just like that, it'd make more sense to start off with what he said right here, because he starts off with, it's interesting to think about. Is a good way to tell me to think about something, because he says it's interesting. So what's interesting?
It's a definite real thing. Like those experiences are what make the human experience a human experience. Yeah. And I think to your point,
so let's see right here.
It's interesting sometimes how like your business can set up one thing really, really well, but can fuck you over in so many other areas that are more important. Right.
Boom, yeah, that's a good point right there. I'd probably make that into one hook. So this is probably about like 3 minutes long. Let's look for another one.
All the money in the world if your health goes to shit. And especially if, ironically enough, it happened due to your wealth acquisition. Brian Johnson? Yeah, have you heard of him? No.
He mentioned a celebrity here.
So like, right, exactly. Yeah, so it's super important to make sure that like you have those. Have you heard?
Okay, boom. Have you heard of this person? Just how I said in the timestamping video, they mentioned like a celebrity name immediately. Boom, that's a hook right there.
Have you heard of, what are your thoughts on Brian Johnson?
Boom, what are your thoughts about Brian Johnson? There you go. That's something right there that I would make into a hook. Again, we're still talking about the same thing, which is why like I timestamped it, you know, all in the same clip. But really, like this could be made into now a couple different videos. If not the same video, I could probably just replace the hooks here. So I'd probably have one hook, him talking about it's interesting. It's interesting talking about, well, what do you say right here?
It's interesting sometimes how like your business.
Boom, one hook there, and then the other hook would be.
Yeah, so it's super important.
The other hook would be.
Lined up. Have you heard of, what are your thoughts on Brian Johnson? Brian Johnson?
Boom. That's another hook right there.
Have you heard of him? No. He's a millionaire. He's called the $1 million.
So it's two hooks.
CEO. He spends $1 million a year on his own physical health. Make sure that like you have those priorities lined up. Have you heard of?
So I'm probably gonna mark it. Boom. This one hook right there, and then the other one I'll mark it right here. Oh no.
To your point, it's interesting.
Boom.
To your point.
Boom, I'll mark this one right here. So I have these markings will tell me the different types of hooks that I can use for this video.
Yeah, CEO. He spends $1 million a year on his own physical health. Being backwards, which is ridiculous. Okay. So biologically, in terms of time, he has markers and. Let's say it's like erection fucking strength.
Erection. So this is funny. So honestly, anything that is like very bold and vulgar, that's another hook as well. So he talks about how Brian Johnson has major erection strength. So I'd probably put that within the first like 5 seconds somewhere.
In their 20s. Wow. But he's like 45. And like his bench press, like.
Okay, so he talked about like, okay, he's 45, his bench press, but that doesn't really matter. Like, the erection strength is more interesting than the bench press and everything else. So I wouldn't even include the bench press and all that stuff.
Johnson?
Yeah, have you heard of?
So I'd probably start off with Brian Johnson.
He's a millionaire. He's called the $1 million CEO.
He's called the $1 million CEO. Boom. Very simple.
On his own physical health, like trying to biohack and yeah.
Mention a couple things there, and then I go into the erection strength.
He actually has like the age of someone who's like in their 20s. Wow. Like 40. Press, like mathematically, what's crazy is he even looks at his like erection fucking strength.
Boom. So for that, I wouldn't start the video. I wouldn't start the video with him saying erection strength, but I'd probably include that somewhere within the first 5 seconds. Because one, it's funny, and two, it's pretty bold. So people are gonna be like, what the heck? You know, you want that eye-opening feature when you're doing hooks. You know, it's not only just the edit, but it's also about what's being said in the video too.
Crazy, he even looks at his like erection fucking strength.
Boom. I'm gonna mark that as well.
Yo. Talk about content and personal branding. Man just posting this on the gram with full.
And then after that, I'd probably go into the body. So right there, within the first 3 to 4 minutes, I found 3 different hooks. After editing this, I'm gonna show you the final product. My computer died. I found those 3 different hooks. So let's see how they look and sound. And then after that, I'll go ahead and post them on social media to see what results I get. You wanna start off with different hooks with the same video because it gives you data to see what types of hooks work for you. So going forward, whenever you shoot something, now you know like, all right, I should start off with something funny, or I should start off with something informational, or I should start off with something motivational. Let's take a look briefly at these real quick.
It's interesting sometimes how like your business can set up one thing really, really well, but can fuck you over in so many other areas that are more important.
Right.
Like you mentioned that you were hustling so hard you got sick. But it's like, what's the point? You know, what's the point of having all the money in the world if your health goes to shit? And especially if, ironically enough, it happened due to your wealth acquisition. What are your thoughts on Brian Johnson?
Okay, so I didn't go into Brian Johnson like 18 seconds, so let's go to this one now. It's a different hook.
What are your thoughts on Brian Johnson? He's called the $1 million CEO. He spends $1 million a year on his own physical health. So apparently he's aging backwards. In terms of time, he has gotten a year older. But in terms of blood work, he actually has the age of someone who's like in their 20s. Wow. But he's like 45. What's crazy is he even looks at his like erection fucking strength. Yo.
So I didn't get to the erection strength to like 20 seconds, but immediately, you know, what are your thoughts on Brian Johnson? Person, most people know him. I didn't know him there. He gave an explanation of who he was and what he does. Yeah, I might cut this one up to kind of get the erection strength before 15 seconds. Yeah, I only got it like at 20 seconds, but you know, I feel like this one is already better than the first one. Let's go to the third one.
What are your thoughts on Brian Johnson? He's called the $1 million CEO. He spends $1 million a year on his own physical health. So apparently he's aging backwards. He actually has the age of someone who's like in their 20s, but he's like 45. What's crazy is he even looks at his like erection fucking strength. Yo. Talk about content and personal branding. Man just...
I like that way better. See, I like version 3 better because I edited it to where it got straight to the point, like who he is, what he does, and boom, like something funny. You're asking that type of question, you're anticipating a story. Now you're like, okay, who's Brian Johnson? This is what he does, and then you're like, okay, how does this benefit me? Boom, something funny, erection strength. Like, oh, what the fuck? Right, catches you off guard. Personally, I made these 3 different versions. I like version 3 better. Just immediately after watching like the first 20 seconds, I didn't even need to watch the whole thing. So I'm gonna post these 3 on social media, see how they do, and then we'll go from there. All right, this wraps up this tutorial on how to find different hooks within a video. Remember, the hook is the most important thing when it comes to social media reels because you wanna grab people's attention immediately. People have a short attention span nowadays, so you need to make sure you have them within the first 2 to 3 seconds. It's important to test out different types of hooks within the same video to see what your audience likes. Maybe your audience likes when you start something off informational. Maybe your audience likes when you start something off funny. As you guys saw, I started the video 3 different ways, and I'm gonna test that out and post it on all platforms to see what my audience likes better and what they react to. And especially if you're offering these type of services to clients, it's important to know how you should start their videos. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to leave it down below in the comments. If you want any advice, if you have any suggestions on any other tips you want to know about storytelling and editing, just let me know. Peace.